Welcome to the Cup of Joe Wrestling Show.
Cup of Joe Wrestling Show?
With Joey Harris. A podcast for the wrestling fan on the go. So take your favorite beverage of choice and join Joey as he takes a look at some of the biggest shows on the WWE Network.
Welcome to the Cup of Joe Wrestling Show. I'm your host, Joey Harris, and we are broadcasting from makeshift studios in the shadow of South Central Virginia. Follow the show on Twitter and Blue Sky at Cup of Joe Pod. Email the show at cupofjoewrestlingshow@gmail.com. Support the show at paypal.me/cupofjoepod. I am also on Cash App and Venmo at the Joey Harris. If you want to just send me a couple bucks that way, I would appreciate it. Also, patreon.com/babykangaroo media for bonus episodes of the Cup of Joe Wrestling Show, the Joey Harris Super Show, the Green Room, Book Club Baristas, so much more. Just $5 a month for hours of extra content. And if you use the promo code Joey, you'll get 20% off your first month. And folks, you need a scorecard to keep it all straight. I had said that I had been doing some recording to try to get some shows done and in the can before I went on vacation so that I wouldn't worry about it while I was gone or have to miss a week or put up best of shows or whatever. And I talk about news, and before this even comes out, news isn't news anymore, or the news has changed. And that's what's happened with R-Truth being rehired or having a new contract put out, and now going by Ron Killings, his name. And it's interesting how things change from moment to moment and day by day. But again, I talked about it when I talked about him being released. It's the wrestling business. It's not the wrestling friends. So they found that they can do something with them, they being TKO and WWE, then they'll re-sign him. And that's exactly what happened. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. But today, it's one of my favorite times of the year for this show. It's the summer tradition continues with Cup of Joe Wrestling Show annual number 5. It's a time that we go and we look at something a little different than what we usually look at in the tradition of those great comic book annuals that I loved when I was a kid. And today we look at Starcade 85 from the AWA. Starcade 85 took place on April the 2nd, 1985 from the St. Paul Civic Center in St. Paul, Minnesota, and shown on local cable. There were 12,000 in attendance. Verne Gagne tells Ken Resnick about his family learning that he's going to wrestle. Resnick then runs down some of what we're going to see. The Alaskans Dave Wagner and Rick Renshaw versus Steve Olszewski and Tom Zink. The Alaskans are heavily booed. Ken Resnick and Doug McLeod call the action. Olszewski and Alaskan one start. The Alaskans hit each other trying to double team Olszewski. Alaskan 1 and Olszewski tie up in the corner. Olszewski with early advantage. Alaskan 2 and Zink tagged in. Zink tags Alaskan 2 with some slaps. Zink with a side headlock. The faces are quick tagging. Heels double team Zink. Olszewski tagged in. He gets Alaskan 2 down. The Alaskans double team Olszewski. Alaskan 2 with a bear hug. Alaskan 1 chokes Olszewski in the corner, and then Alaskan 2 with the bear hug again. Olszewski is trying to get out. He does, but gets double teamed again. Olszewski gets the sunset flip for a 2 count, back and forth. Alaskan 2 with a rear chin lock. Alaskan 2 with a slam for a 2 count. Alaskan 2 gets his knee up on a corner charge. Olszewski then moves on a corner charge and Zink tagged in. He slams Alaskan 2 and hits a drop kick. All 4 men in and the Alaskans run into each other. The faces get the pin after a double drop kick. Resnick interviews Olszewski and Zink, and they are happy with the victory. Baron von Raschke and Buck Zumhoff versus Jimmy Garvin and Steve Regal with Precious. Zumhoff, ugh. He starts with Regal and gets the early advantage. They lock up and break. Zumhoff for the corner whip. Garvin asks for a timeout. He tags in. Von Raschke tagged in. He beats Garvin down. He runs him into the turnbuckles. All faces so far. Von Raschke with a back elbow. He misses an elbow drop. Regal tagged in and attacked Von Raschke. He runs him face first across the ropes. Heels double teaming Von Raschke. Regal with a front face lock. The referee didn't see Zumhoff tag in. Garvin is choking Von Raschke. He keeps Von Raschke down. Von Raschke comes back. He stomps Garvin in the corner. Regal tagged in. He gets Von Raschke down for a 2 count. Zumhoff tagged in. Regal ran into a couple of turnbuckles, back and forth. Garvin tagged in. He gets a 2 count. Garvin with a chin lock. Zumhoff gets out and comes back with a crossbody. Von Raschke tagged in. He ties Garvin up in the ropes and attacks Garvin. He puts the claw on Garvin. All 4 men in. Heels ran together. Zumhoff and Regal tagged in. Heels get Zumhoff down. All 4 back in the ring. Garvin accidentally hits Regal and Zumhoff gets the pin. Resnick talks to the winners, who promise that there's more to come. No thanks, I'm full. Brad Rangans and Bob Backlund versus Butch Reed and Larry Zbyszko. Butch and Brad start. They lock up and break. They do some chain wrestling. Butch with a side headlock. Brad pushes off. Butch with a shoulder block. Brad with a drop kick and a wrist lock. Faces quick tagging. Zbyszko tags in. Brad with a side headlock. Backlund tagged in, back and forth. Backlund doesn't stay in long when he tags in. The heels get Brad in their corner. Bob tagged in. He attacks Butch's arm. Zbyszko in and hits a neck breaker for a 2 count. Butch tagged in. He chokes Backlund. He gets a rear chin lock on. He pulls Backlund back to the center of the ring. Zbyszko tagged in and hits a shoulder breaker. Heels double teaming Backlund. Backlund gets a small package for a 2 count. Butch tagged in and got a bear hug. Backlund reverses it. Heels run Backlund into their corner and Butch clotheslines Backlund. He gets Backlund down with a chin lock. Zbyszko tagged in and gets an abdominal stretch on Backlund. Backlund gets out. Butch in and gets the bear hug again. Backlund gets out, but they collide and both men are down. Brad and Zbyszko tagged in. Brad cleans house. Brad with a power slam to Zbyszko. Backlund tagged back in for no good reason. He backdrops out of a pile driver attempt to get the pin. Ken Resnick interviews Zbyszko and Reed. They say that they were robbed. He then interviews the winners. This went on way too long, this segment. Ken then interviews Sergeant Slaughter. He says he and Crusher Blackwell had been training for the cage. Billy Robinson and Bobby Duncombe versus Jim Brunzell and the Tongan Kid. The introductions are made. The bell rings and all 4 go at it. Heels knocked out of the ring. Robinson and Brunzell start back and forth. Robinson with a neck breaker. Duncombe tagged in. Brunzell with a slam for a 2 count. Kid tagged in. He gets Duncombe down with a headlock. Hits a pair of drop kicks. He takes over on the heels. Brunzell tagged in and the heels double team him. Robinson tagged in and hit another neck breaker. He gets Brunzell down and Duncombe tagged in. He gets Brunzell in the front face lock. Kid tagged in, but the referee didn't see it. Duncombe in and hits a backbreaker, but Kid breaks up the pin attempt. Duncombe hits the ring post when Brunzell moves on a charge. Kid tagged in and took Duncombe down. He works on Duncombe's leg. Brunzell tags in. They do a leg split on Duncombe. They then hit Robinson. Kid tagged in and hit a headbutt to Duncombe's leg. Robinson tagged in. He hits a neck breaker on Kid. Duncombe tagged in. He clotheslines Kid. Kid hits Duncombe. Brunzell tagged in and got the drop kick for a 2 count. Robinson tagged in and hits a belly-to-back suplex, but Kid makes the save. Robinson with an atomic drop, but Brunzell makes the tag and Kid comes off the ropes to headbutt Robinson and pin him. The Road Warriors talk about the Hennigs, followed by a Road Warriors music video. Another video is then shown set to We're Not Going to Take It. Verne and Greg Gagne versus Nick Bockwinkel and Mr. Saito. The Gagnes come to the ring and clear it of the heels. Greg and Saito start. They trade blows. Bockwinkel tagged in. He and Greg lock up. Bockwinkel ran into the Gagnes corner and Bockwinkel taking shots from both Gagnes. Bockwinkel gets Greg down. Saito tagged in and the heels double team Greg. Saito with the front face lock. Bockwinkel tagged in and picks the hold up. A "We Want Verne" chant goes out. Greg comes back with a suplex for a 2 count. Saito tagged in. He gets the front face lock on. Verne tagged in, but the referee didn't see it and won't allow it. Saito with the figure 4. Greg reverses it. Bockwinkel tagged in. He hits Greg with a knee. Greg backdrops out of a piledriver attempt. They collide in the ring. Double count going. Greg gets a 2 count. Saito and Verne tagged in. Verne cleans house. He attacks both heels. Greg drops a knee on Saito. Verne with a backdrop and gets the sleeper on, but Bockwinkel breaks it up. Greg and Bockwinkel tagged in. Greg runs Bockwinkel into a turnbuckle. Greg with a backbreaker and another flying knee, but Bockwinkel gets his foot on the ropes. Greg then gets another 2 count. Verne tagged in. He gets a drop kick for a 2 count. Verne with another drop kick. Saito tagged in and attacked Verne with chops and shots. Bockwinkel tagged in and gets the sleeper on Verne. Verne breaks the hold and gets the sleeper on Bockwinkel. All 4 men are in, and Greg drop kicks Verne on Bockwinkel to get the pin. They brawl at ringside after the match. Bockwinkel pile drives Verne on the floor. Greg chases the heels off with a chair, and they call for a medic for Verne. AWA World Tag Team Championship match. The Road Warriors Hawk and Animal with Paul Ellering versus Kurt and Larry Hennig. Rod Trongard announces this match, as I'm sure it was shown on ESPN. Larry and Animal start. They lock up and push off. Animal with a side headlock. Larry comes back. Hawk tagged in. Larry with a bear hug. Hawk with shots and a front face lock. Larry gets to the ropes. Larry with a back elbow. They trade wrist locks. Kurt tagged in. He gets a side headlock. Animal tagged in. Animal with a slam. Back and forth. Kurt goes back to the side headlock. Hawk tagged in. Hawk with a series of forearms. Kurt comes back and tries a sunset flip, but Hawk punches him. Animal in with a front face lock. He power slams Kurt, and Larry comes in. Hawk tagged in and lifted Kurt up. He beats on Kurt, who fights back. Hawk with a rear chin lock. Hawk with a back elbow. Animal in with a rear chin lock. Hawk in and presses Kurt, who comes back with a roll up for a 2 count. Hawk with a knee lift. Animal tagged in. Kurt with a corner whip. Animal with a clothesline for a 2 count. Hawk in with a flying elbow smash. He gets a rear chin lock on. Animal in and slams Kurt, who gets his knees up on a splash attempt. Larry tagged in. He attacks Animal. Larry with a clothesline and an elbow smash. Kurt tagged in and hits a missile drop kick for a 2 count, but Ellering grabbed the referee. Road Warriors double team Kurt. Larry and Ellering in. They brawl all over. The bell rings and the Road Warriors win by disqualification. Trongard is totally clueless about the finish. Ken Resnick talks to the Road Warriors. They said the Hennigs knew that they were going to get beat and disqualified themselves. Now, folks, I just realized this. It was probably advertised and it's obvious to everyone but me, which is fine. But every match on this card is a tag match. No single matches at all. That's pretty wild. We then get a video of wrestlers set to Let's Go Crazy by Prince, which is interesting considering AWA and Verne Gagne, but may be appropriate considering the setting. Main event cage match. Sergeant Slaughter and Crusher Blackwell versus the Masked Superstar, King Tonga, and Sheik Adnan Al-KC. Joined in progress. Blackwell takes on Superstar. He calls Akbar in. Blackwell with a side headlock. Tonga tagged in. They locked up. Tonga climbs the ropes, but Blackwell pulls him down and clotheslines Tonga. He splashes Tonga. Slaughter tagged in. He hits a back elbow, back and forth. Superstar in, and Slaughter unloads on him. Blackwell enters and knocks Superstar down. Superstar runs Blackwell into the cage. Akbar tagged in. He stomps Blackwell. Blackwell is bleeding. Akbar hits Blackwell with his cast and bites Blackwell. Blackwell is still on his feet. Tonga enters and punishes Blackwell. He drops Blackwell and hits a headbutt to get a 2 count. Tonga with a rear chinlock. Superstar in and he bites Blackwell's bloody forehead. He is relentless. Blackwell knocks Superstar down. Blackwell avoids a headbutt. Tonga tagged in. The heels get Blackwell in their corner. Akbar is in and Blackwell runs Akbar into the cage. Blackwell headbutts Akbar down. Akbar cuts off a tag attempt. Tonga tagged in and Blackwell runs him into the cage. Tonga attacks Blackwell. Blackwell caught in the heels corner and they punish him as the referee gets Slaughter out. Blackwell runs Superstar into the cage and Slaughter tagged in. He attacks the heels. He runs the heels into the cage. Slaughter misses a top rope stomp. Superstar runs Slaughter into the cage. Tonga runs in and attacks Slaughter's forehead. Slaughter is now bleeding. Tonga with a pile driver for a 2 count. Superstar in with a clothesline for a 2 count. Superstar with a headlock. Tonga tagged in and then Akbar tagged in. He brutalizes Slaughter. Slaughter trying to come back. They trade shots. Akbar ran into the cage. Blackwell tagged in. He beats on Akbar. He splashes Akbar and slams him down. Superstar breaks up the count. Slaughter takes out Superstar and Blackwell hits Akbar with a splash to get the pin. Resnick then interviews Blackwell and Slaughter. Blackwell asks Akbar what it feels like to be splashed from the top rope. Slaughter says this is what America is about. He says they trained for this and were ready. Blackwell says he didn't like the training. Slaughter says it wasn't supposed to be easy. They recap the night and sign off from St. Paul. Final thoughts. This was a fun little show that is worth at least one watch. You can follow me on Facebook, Threads, and Instagram at The Joey Harris. If you like the show, please leave a review on iTunes, Apple Podcasts, or your preferred podcast app. I would really appreciate it. We can also be found on Spotify and YouTube. Just search for The Cup of Joe Wrestling Show and don't forget to hit subscribe. Thank you for joining me. This is Joey saying so long from the heart of Virginia.
The Cup of Joe Wrestling Show is a production of Baby Kangaroo Media.